Hey everybody, it's Producer Jay. I wanted to revisit something that we haven't given much love to lately, pretty much since the Bren 2 came out. We haven't talked much about the 805 Bren, and I kind of wanted to take it out and to run a few rounds through it and see what my impressions of it were after getting my hands on a Bren 2, and see if I still like the gun, and just kind of give some post-2 impressions, and just kind of let you know if this is something, that I would still consider to be a viable rifle, and see what your thoughts are. So let's put some rounds through it. I've got an ACR stock on the back here to make it look a little bit more like a SCAR. Since I have the Bren 2 already, I decided to play SCAR dress up on this one. And I've added the flash hider here that I believe also is the same flash hider they use on the SCAR. So I got my little SCAR clone going. But anyway, let's get some shooting done and come back and talk a little bit about it.
Hi, Misha here, and just chiming in with my reasons why the 805 Bren is not just gone because the Bren 2S and soon to be, well, hopefully, Bren 2MS will be here. I haven't actually seen Jay's clip yet, so probably be quite a bit of repeating. I would have said cost for a time. The 805 for the pistol got as low as $1,000 new, and the carbine $1,200, maybe even a little less new. But since stock has run out, people, well, they be people. They want what they can no longer have. So even though the Bren, the 805, was very, very reasonably priced for quite a significant period of time, better part of a year, now that they're going away, prices are starting to go back up again to $1,400, $1,500. So you really can't say price as of 2019 is a major factor, but for a while it was. These were very reasonable. The trigger is another one. That's something I bet Jay is going to mention or has mentioned, and I pointed it out in several videos. It's a metal trigger versus the polymer in the Bren 2, and it just has a very light, nice pull. That's not to say the Bren 2 trigger is bad, but the Bren trigger is really quite exceptional. I could also see someone preferring the Bren style pistol grip. The Bren 2 is very checkery, very Magpul-like. The Bren here is a little more traditional with just the grooves and whatnot. Both have interchangeable back straps, though. The magwell unit itself, the whole lower is a two-piece design for the Bren. Whereas, of course, the Bren 2, it's a single piece. That could matter in some aspects, although in practical terms, all it really means for the Bren is that you can put on the original classic magwell, which takes these mags, the Czech ones, or German G36 mags. So obviously, of course, that doesn't really matter. The longer handguard and gas system, yes, it adds some weight, but counter to that, or in addition, you have more real estate for rail. The top rail has a longer sight radius and is a single monolithic piece. You also can have longer side rails. I just have the original panels on mine, but you can definitely easily get the rails if you want them. And obviously the lower rail, which is standard, is longer than on the Bren 2. So that's an advantage. Also, because of the extra weight out front, the Bren has less felt recoil, therefore less muzzle rise or flip. Therefore, that combined with a longer sight radius could give potential better accuracy. And just in general, the gun, while the Bren 2 is still a very smooth gun, the Bren does seem to be just a little bit smoother of a firearm. Finally, the barrel. My carbine here has the 14-inch barrel with the kind of homemade extension on it to get it to 16. But even with the 16-inch barrel, it doesn't look out of place thanks to the longer handguard. If you look at the Bren 2S with the 14-inch barrel, it really sticks out there, really hangs out there. So imagine the Bren 2 MS carbine with a 16-inch barrel. It's going to have a lot of barrel sticking out, which is aesthetically not that appealing. And then if you extend the handguard on the Bren 2 MS out to kind of make it look better, then you're adding extra weight. And that's one of the big things that people like about the Bren 2 is how much lighter it is than the Bren. But if you start putting on a longer handguard and barrel, you're giving it weight again. So it just kind of seems counterproductive. And to kind of conclude, people like to say the Bren is heavy. While it is not the lightest gun on the planet, it really doesn't weigh more, at least not significantly more, than say an M4 carbine with a heavy barrel or many other modern guns. Additionally, what weight it has is very well balanced. It's not front or rear heavy, and because it is balanced, it doesn't, it sits well in your hands. It balances very well. And let's be honest, it's still not that heavy compared to older guns. I think a lot of people that say the Bren is heavy and act like it's egregious probably haven't fired one extensively or even handled one much. For those of us who own them, really, it's not bad. You don't notice it. Now keep in mind, we're not out, hiking and humping over the hills. We're just out range shooting, which is what 99.9% of owners in America will be doing with these. Don't pretend like this is going to be your bug out gun and you're going to have to run 15 kilometers with it. You know that's not going to happen. So really the weight thing is a bit overstated, in my humble opinion. So yeah, that's some benefits, some pros. That even though the Bren 2S is out and the Bren 2 MS is coming out, the 805 Bren PS1 pistol and S1 carbine are still not obsolete and irrelevant. Are still very good guns. So if you run across a good deal, don't just automatically turn your nose up at it. That's why Jay and I are not selling our original Brens. Not at all.
So all the things that were true about the Bren, the very smooth trigger, the very, very smooth action, very low recoil impulse, accuracy, and I've always consistently shot between 1 and 2 inches with the steel cased ammo on this rifle. All of those things still hold true in a post-Bren 2 world. Now, we haven't gotten actual samples of the so-called commercial version of the Bren 2 or the Bren 2 MS, but if the early release that we got late last year any indication, the Bren 2 takes everything that the Bren does well and does it better. But that doesn't negate the fact that the 805 does it well and still is a completely functional, very accurate, very reliable firearm. But You have things like no bolt release, the reciprocating charging handle, the weight, it's a very chunky gun compared to the Bren 2 especially. So there are things that the Bren 2 does better that at some point it's just kind of hard to justify getting a Bren 1, or an 805 I guess I should say, unless you are a Czech collector, or unless you just happen to find a stellar deal on a Bren 1. I mean, the 805 is still excellent. I mean, it's just awesome. I'm glad I have one. If I had to choose between it and the Bren 2, obviously the Bren 2 is what I would go with, but I already have a Bren 1, so thankfully I don't have to make that choice. But I'm also not getting rid of my Bren 1, my 805. So, still an excellent gun, overshadowed definitely by the release of the Bren 2. And that's somewhat unfortunate, but also we're definitely glad the Bren 2 exists. It did everything that the 805 did well, and just made it better. So, anyway, this is just a quick little update, little revisit of the 805. So, if you like this video, please click like, and if you want to see more of this type of stuff, be sure to subscribe and check out our backlog. And if you're interested in supporting us, please check out our link to our Patreon page in the description below. This is Jay, and I will catch you next time.